Years ago, Ed Maas worked for Southern Pacific.
Doggone, I can't do anything anymore.
But look what he did in his spare time many years ago. This is
An Atlantic.
an Atlantic.
442.
Meaning?
442. That was an Atlantic type.
A live steam working model 1-inch scale. He ran it in his backyard.
We didn't have many of those up here. But then if it was a 462, then it was a Pacific. We had lots of those.
He remembers these things because he was a foreman at the old Brooklyn Yard roundhouse. This is the way he remembers it. We can see what he saw in his years because of another hobby of his. Ed Maas took 8mm movies of railroading when steam was still the way, caught glimpses of people at work.
Those are some pictures around Brooklyn Roundhouse, mostly of personnel.
The people who kept the trains running.
Crew dispatcher Joe Schmidt, various people coming to work in the morning. And when you turn the camera on, people seem to get silly some way.
Ed Maas gives us glimpses not of a company, not of an industry, but of the people who gave life to a railroad, prepared the engines, threw their bags into the cab, and climbed in after them. We meet them thanks to Ed.
Engineer W. Bill Hyde, fireman Clinkworth.
Shows us what life was like for the hostler and the occasional event.
This was number 18 came in, hit a cement truck at Salem. A Union Pacific engine at Brooklyn getaway track. During the war, they leased some Union Pacific engines to augment the SP.
Sometimes Ed caught rides along the main line.
Going through Brooklyn, telegraph office on the left, Willsburg Junction, somebody coming off the branch, Clackamas River, the Cascade, train number 12, going through Salem down the city street. This is engineer Oscar Burgoyne. Speedometer shows we're going 79 miles an hour, which was the maximum allowable speed when train control was not used.
And finally, Eugene. Ed's film shows the people he knew reacting the way people always react, with grins, goofiness, waves of recognition. He shows us that side, then gives us a chance to ride a steam logging train.
This is a trip I took on the Oregon American Lumber Company. They went from Vernonia to Kesey, and then from Kesey they crossed the Sunset Highway and went up into the hills about 5 miles. And that's where I went in the morning, and then got on the engine and went up to where they were loading logs. This engine was a Shea engine built by Willamette in Portland, about 1923 or 4, and the guy that was running it ran it most of its life, and he kept it just shined up like you wouldn't believe. Other logging engines didn't look like that. I walked from here farther on in quite a distance where they were laying new track yet. There's a work train back here working, laying track and ties. And this was about 1957, and they told me in 2 years they would be out of there completely. And I think as far as I know they were. That was it.
Ed and his camera got around.
Now we're up at Timber in 1946, Timber, Oregon, Southern Pacific helper station on the Tillamook branch. Had a 3-stall roundhouse there. Used to use around 10 helper engines there. 687, that's a morning train leaving Timber up to Cochrane. The helpers will be cut off at Cochrane, and they'll go on down the other side to Wheeler. This train is headed for Hillsborough, Brooklyn.
Ed went, well, everywhere.
Mount Hood Railroad, when they still had steam, they're switching at Hood River.
He recorded the passing of steam across the Cascades.
We met several freight trains and several sets of helpers coming back down. Lots of brake shoe smoke.
But the scenes closer to home are the treasures. A moment in time.
That was W.O. Brown, the master mechanic who had been promoted and was leaving. They had a kind of a retirement for him.